Welcome to another demo with RESTpoint, and today we're going to expand upon our previous 3 demos where each time we've been iterating. Our first one we built our first iteration, second one we started adding in some logic, and third one we started modifying our error messages. Today we're going to give a quick example of how we could start to plug in webhooks. So this is where we interface to remote systems. And the example I'm going to give is when I come in to create a portfolio, I want to send a notification to Slack that a new portfolio was created. So I'm going to come into my webhooks, and I'm going to call this Slack, and I'm going to say send a Slack notification. When called. Now for Slack, you'll recognize this is a common convention for the webhooks, that anything that's posted into here will magically show up and post into a Slack group. And that will be our URL, and we don't have to use a header in this case. So I'm going to add my webhook in there, and you'll see. Now in our example, we have this already built in for Slack, since it is a simple webhook and kind of fun to play with. So now you see in our script we would come over to BizLogic for after we created a portfolio. Let's go to create. In the create portfolio script, we check that the name has a name, and it checks that it has a manager name. When the portfolio is created, it will then go and webhooks, get the webhook, which we called Slack, and then we say post JSON, which is put, and info. Think of JSON being an object where we can just put in what the JSON message is. And you can put in, of course, nested JSON objects. If the put was a JSON object, you could then have nested JSON. So, but for Slack, it just requires a JSON message that says text, and we're just going to send in info. And we're going to change our messages, say a new portfolio was created, and we'll say $object.name, which is our portfolio name. So let's update this. Now that is not a valid Slack URL that we provided, so if I hit run, it would not work. But if you want to test this out, add in your own webhook for Slack. It does work. And then you'll be able to post, and this is an example of using webhooks to push information into external systems. And what we would do is come in and deploy this, and our new iteration, which we call 4, is we call this called Slack notifications. And I will add the endpoint. So now you can see as we iterate and iterate, we have a history of all our iterations with the descriptions. They're all still capable of running, and each of them is accessible to actually go back and follow the trace all the way through the different iterations that you gave to your users. And that concludes this demonstration. Thank you.